Most people using Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, the weight loss drugs for weight loss, are making big mistakes. Mistakes that cause rebound weight gain and, in the meantime, major muscle loss. So you end up weighing more a few months after stopping the drugs with more fat and less muscle. Big problem for your metabolism. These mistakes damage the muscle, and the mistakes that people make end up making them feel awful and much less healthy. They ruin their metabolic engine. Today, I'm going to walk you through the top GLP-1 mistakes I see every single week when people are using these drugs for weight loss. If you avoid these, you'll lose more fat, protect your muscle, and dramatically increase your chances of keeping the weight off long term. Let's get started. Mistake number 1, thinking the drug does the work for you. GLP-1s lower your appetite, but that's all they do. They don't build muscle, they don't protect your metabolism, and they don't keep you strong, and they don't teach you how to eat. And they don't fix insulin resistance or metabolic disease on their own. They're a great medication for diabetes, prediabetes, but they don't fix it. You've got to do the work. When your appetite drops, you naturally eat less protein. You also get less creatine and less citrulline. And those 3 things matter more than people realize. Protein is the raw material for muscle. Creatine's the energy system for muscle. And citrulline improves blood flow so the muscle can actually do the work. Now, if you don't get enough of these, your muscle disappears faster than your fat does. Lose muscle, you slow your metabolism, you increase your frailty, and all but guarantee rebound weight gain. The solution? Protect your muscle while you're on these GLP-1s. That's the drug class. You'll hear me use that term. Aim for 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal and add 3 to 5 grams of creatine per day. I actually take 10 grams. Boomers are better off maybe taking 10, even up to 15, because creatine helps with your brain as well. If you haven't seen that video, take a look. Add citrulline for performance and blood flow. These are not optional. They're the essentials that keep your metabolism alive. Mistake number 2, micronutrient starvation. When you eat fewer calories, you get fewer vitamins, fewer minerals, fewer electrolytes, even fewer omega-3 fats. You just get fewer micronutrients. And that's why people on GLP-1s often see their hair thinning, dry skin, muscle cramps, fatigue, brittle nails, even constipation. It's not the medication, it's the micronutrient deficit. The solution? Make every calorie count. Eat real food. Eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, salmon, sardines, leafy greens, beans, berries, high-quality proteins. Nutrient density is not negotiable when you're eating less. Eat real food. Mistake number 3, not doing resistance training. This is the big one, the most important one. The mistake that ruins everything, ruins your metabolic engine, ruins your muscle. Yes, you need the protein, the citrulline, the creatine, but if you don't do this work, that's going to ruin it all. And that's the most common thing that I see. GLP-1s make it easy to undereat. Undereating without resistance training is going to create muscle loss. And losing muscle collapses your metabolism. Muscle is your metabolic engine, your stability, your glucose sink, your balance, your fall prevention system. One of the biggest killers of aging adults is falls. You're going to need that when you get older, that muscle. You're going to need it now. It is your metabolic furnace. Lose muscle, everything else gets harder. The solution? Train your muscles with intention. Now, most people talk about 2 resistance training sessions per week. That's okay if you're in your 20s, maybe 30s. But once you get into your 40s and beyond, and especially if you're on these weight loss medications, you really need to do more than that. Your muscles need stimulation. It's the number 1 problem that I see, especially with these medications, especially with weight loss. Push, pull, squat, hinge. And again, not just twice a week, resistance snacks, short bursts throughout the day. Have you ever done a wall sit? Sit back against the wall, get your thighs parallel to the floor. Do it for 30 seconds. You should feel a little bit of burn in your thighs. Then do it for a minute, then a minute and a half, then 2 minutes. That starts getting your body the resistance training that you need. Again, do those 4 or 5 times per week. Then you're starting to protect that metabolic engine. Then add lunges. Again, do a lunge, get that thigh down to a parallel with the floor. Same drill, 30 seconds, a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes. That's going to add major burn for your hips and your groin muscles. These are the 3 biggest muscle groups in your body. They're critical to avoiding trips and falls for when you're in your 60s and 70s, but I'm assuming most of you are in your 40s, your 30s, your 50s, your 60s. These are your big muscles. These are your metabolic engine. Then add HIIT and rehit. High-intensity interval work, reduced exertion high-intensity interval work. Short, intense intervals, not long cardio. You're building mitochondrial strength. That's the real energy system you need as you lose weight. Now, there was a study where they actually did muscle biopsies, and here's what they showed. They did crossover designs between jogging and resistance training and high-intensity interval work. High-intensity interval work rebuilt mitochondria better than anything. Resistance training was a close number 2, and endurance work was way back. So, yes, endurance work is important, but you cannot do without resistance work and especially high-intensity interval work, especially if you're using weight loss medications. But really anyone, whether you're using those medications or not, you can have your diet totally dialed in. If you're not protecting your muscle, you're going to be in bad shape when you stop those medications. So let's get to mistake number 4. It happens early on in the process. In fact, it happens after that first dose. You take that first introductory dose and you feel good. You say, oh, I can take this, and now I'm ready to really crank up that weight loss. You crank up that dose, and then you start having problems. Mistake number 4 is going too fast, increasing too quickly, and getting into nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, reflux, coming from rushing the dose. People think more is better. It isn't. Your gut needs time to adapt. Start low, and in fact, stay low. I've never gone beyond the introductory dose. Increase slowly. There's no prize for getting to the top dose fast. Slow and steady wins every time, especially when you're juggling potential damage to your metabolic engine here. Mistake number 5, using the medication without improving your metabolic health. The drug suppresses appetite. It does not fix glucose spikes. It does not fix insulin resistance. It does not teach your body how to manage fuel, and it doesn't teach you how to eat. If you don't improve your metabolic engine, ranging from how you eat to how you work out, to your muscles and their mitochondria and their GLUT4 transporters, you don't need to worry about all that. But you do need to worry. You can have your eating, your diet all dialed in. If you don't have the muscles right, you're not going to keep that weight off. Use a CGM, continuous glucose monitor, when possible. Look at your post-meal glucose. Track your triglyceride to HDL ratio. Pay attention to glucose swings. The DECODE trial showed that glucose spikes and glucose hypoglycemic episodes, these things together can cause cardiovascular events. Even when your A1C looks great. And that's one of the problems with your typical docs. Most docs just follow A1C and assume that everything's okay. That also creates a problem with a very popular drug a lot of docs still use called the sulfonylureas. That can cause death. And it's from these spikes going up and down. Your average looks great, but you're getting the spikes. Spikes matter. Mistake number 6, stopping the medication abruptly without tapering. Many people would say is by far the biggest and maybe the worst mistake out of all of them, maybe as bad as all the first 5 combined. And it's clearly one of the biggest mistakes I see. People hit their goal weight, they feel good, and then they just stop. When you stop, just stop a GLP-1, suddenly your appetite comes back suddenly. Your cravings return suddenly. Your stomach motility starts coming back. And not starts, it comes back suddenly. Your body feels like the brakes were just ripped off. Tapering is essential. Slowly, gradually, intentionally. And as I said before, try to make it such that there's not much to taper. If you can stay on microdosing and still accomplish this with a combination of microdosing and lifestyle management, that is going to be the optimum. That's how you keep the weight off, protect your metabolism, and make a smooth transition. And that leads me to the worst mistake of all, doing this on your own. More and more people are getting GLP-1 medications outside of medical care, med spas, online services, even friends, without reviewing lifestyle, without knowing your labs, your bioindicators, without understanding the interactions with other medications, and clearly missing red flags. These are very powerful drugs. They make significant changes to your metabolism. They have side effects, and they can interact with other medications, especially insulin and other anti-diabetic medications. If you're on blood pressure medication, thyroid hormones, or anything that affects kidney function or blood sugar, this all needs to be reviewed in order to do this safely. These aren't casual adjustments. But if you've got gallbladder issues, pancreatitis risk, or unmonitored kidney function, it's even worse. These drugs put you in danger without warning. I've seen patients deal with severe upper abdominal pain. Turns out it was undiagnosed gallstones made worse by rapid weight loss. One even landed in the ER with acute pancreatitis, and she never connected the dots to the injections. And the first couple of docs that she talked to didn't connect the dots either. In many of these cases, the problem was not the drug itself, but the lack of medical input, supervision, consultation. And here's where it gets even more dangerous. A lot of these online sources, they're selling compounded versions of the semaglutide or the tirzepatide. That means they're being made by third-party pharmacies who didn't really make the original drug. Not the original drug manufacturers, not the highly regulated groups. Now, there are FDA-registered compounding pharmacies that do follow strict standards. Let me be clear about that. But many of the products being sold through websites and social media are coming from peptide suppliers. And in the midst of this dystopic rush for these drugs just to get better for bikini season, there's companies that label their vials for research use only, and that's a legal loophole. It can leave you completely unprotected. There's risks that these compounded meds arrive in the wrong concentration, too weak, too strong, contaminated, or not even containing the active ingredient at all. Now, again, I mentioned some are contaminated, some didn't dissolve properly, some have inactive fillers that can cause allergic reactions, and maybe worst of all, patients don't understand something's wrong until their body's already in reaction mode. So it's impossible to know if you're really getting what you're paying for, especially when there's no one checking your labs, adjusting your dose, watching for side effects. If you're wanting to use these meds, even if you feel fine, you do need maybe not supervision, but at least consultation. You need someone looking at your labs, tracking side effects, watching for complications. It's like I always say, test, don't guess. And if you're not into GLP-1s, I truly understand. There's still plenty of lifestyle interventions you can do to reduce your cardiovascular risk. And that's what we did for decades prior to the advent of the GLP-1 miracle. You know, this GLP-1 miracle sort of reminds me of the statin miracle of decades ago. It was helpful, it did work, but it was too much of an easy button for both the doctors and the patients. And now we see what's happening decades later with statins. I'm afraid I see that happening in the future with the GLP-1s as well as the other peptides. Major potential help, but too quick to be an easy button. If you want to see what you can do from a lifestyle perspective to manage those cardiovascular risks, take a look at this video right here. And remember, growing old's not for sissies, but it's a lot easier with healthy arteries.